This week, we've got updates from Sony, MOREL, AUDIOCONTROL, Wet Sounds, and ACCELE Electronics. This is CMA Live All Access, brought to you by SiriusXM and sponsored by 5 Access Innovations. And it starts now. You know, we've been installing power amplifiers into multiple different vehicles for many, many decades now. And one thing stands true. As installers and as shops, we certainly love our 2 and 4 channel amplifiers. Listen, it's not a secret. It's a formula that works. But if you're paying attention to what's going on with the manufacturing of amplifiers these days, you'll see that many brands are leaning towards multi-channel platforms in small footprints. Sony is no exception to the rule. In fact, in the new Sony Mobile ES line, they've got all the offering, including a 6-channel and an 8-channel. We've got Chris Beulah with us from Sony. Now, Chris, I'm not kidding when I say we love our 2 and 4 channels, but what is the deal with these multi-channels? Is this something the dealers should be paying more attention to?
Hey Ben, it's great to be here and talking with your great audience. So yeah, I think that 6 and 8 channel amplifiers in general are not extremely popular yet. I think that's still something that we're growing into as an industry, and I think that the vehicles nowadays kind of demand more channels with more power for sure. So I think the kind of the older school mentality of 2 and 4 channel amps going in a vehicle or multiple 4 channel amps to accomplish the many kind of channel configurations you need to come up with in a vehicle are kind of being left in the past as retailers start to migrate into this multi-channel category of 6 and 8 channel amplifiers.
Now, as mentioned before, Chris, we know you were heavily involved with the development of all the products within the Mobile ES line. So when it came to developing the amplifier selection, obviously, having that multi-channel option was in there, not only in the 6, but the 8. So, of course, we're talking about the XM6ES as well as the XM8ES. Here's 2 concerns I'd like to talk about. The first one being power. Everybody, at the beginning when these multi-channel amplifiers came out, they were criticized for being, it's great, they're all in the same chassis, but the power levels just weren't there. So that's the first one I want to talk to you about. When it came to creating and developing these amps, how critical was it that the power output was there to back it up?
It's a great question, Ben. So one of the primary kind of objectives that I had, and one of the big pushes that I had to our Japanese engineering and product planning team was that people will put an amplifier in a car if it sounds good for sure, but if it can't provide the power that you need to properly amplify the system and get the volume and the level and the sound quality out of it that the customer is expecting, then you certainly look for another option immediately, right? It's not even a consideration at that point. And listen, retailers get into a routine. They have some pretty common upgrade paths and routes for different types of vehicles. And once you become accustomed to 1 or 2 amps as a solution for that type of configuration, you kind of stick with them over time, right? So what we wanted to do, and what I especially wanted to do, was provide some solutions that compact footprint for both a 6 and an 8 channel that mirrors the footprint of our 5 channel. So you now have 3 amps in that Mobile ES lineup that are exactly the same length and height and depth. So you can configure them however you need in the vehicle. But they offer that power that people have come to expect, right? So Sony's had some great sounding amps in the past, high res amps, all that good stuff, but they've been a little kind of middle range with that power output, right? So what we want to do is bring the big guns to the party. So we have 100 watts by the number of channels on the amp, whether it's 4, 6, or 8, at 4 ohm, and then 165 watts at 2 ohm. And then you can bridge each pair of those channels down to 330 watts at 4 ohm. So plenty of power on tap for these amplifiers and the sound system that you're designing with them.
Chris, we had the chance to experience these amplifiers firsthand at that last Knowledge Fest, and let me tell you, these absolutely put down the power. There's no question about it. But the other point when it comes to these multi-channel amplifiers is the configurability, I suppose, is the word. When it comes to system building, these type of amplifiers provide ample options, and I'd like you to kind of dissect that a little further.
Yeah, so this is a great opportunity to kind of talk about some of the tech features that are on these amplifiers, right? So when we began redeveloping Mobile ES for this, recent launch of the head unit, the speakers, and now the amplifiers, we paid very careful attention to how these products would be applied to a vehicle. And through that, we of course thought through the technician's eyes and mind as they were configuring things. So just like our 1ES, our 4ES, and our 5ES that were launched earlier than these two newer ones, the 6ES and the 8ES, all of those, by the way, depict the number of channels that they have. So that model number is a direct correlation to the channel output. But all of these amps, all five of them, have very similar configuration options. The one exception is the 1ES, which is simply just a monoblock amplifier, so there's not as much configuration available. But the 4ES, 5ES, 6ES, and 8ES have multiple options to configure your system. We have input combinations, so you can input channels 1, 2, 3, and 4 and combine those inside the amp to give you the output for maybe a front stage or a rear stage. You can do that on all four of those amps. Different configurations allow that input to kind of handle whatever system you're trying to configure for that customer. We also have an output stage configuration. So we have line out on all of these amplifiers, two RCAs, and you're able to configure that as a throughput from just channels 1 and 2 on any of them. A stereo, which uses your combination left and right summing capability within the amplifiers. And then you have an all. It basically combines all of the audio signals together from all the channels and puts that out on those two outputs. So between just those two options right there, you have great configuration capability within any system for sure. Then you add on top of that the power and the bridging capability, which lets you get a little more creative on how you're applying these amplifiers to the system. And you've got some great tools to build whatever system you need out of them.
And last but not least, Chris, I do want to take a minute here to mention the aesthetics of this piece. I mean, these are really sexy looking amplifiers. The form factor, the build, and all these configurations and dials and knobs and switches that you're referring to. You know what? I know as an installer, sometimes you're a little sketched out because you don't want the customer playing with these things. Well, don't worry, because whoever is behind the design of this stuff actually thought about that, because it actually hides behind a panel to give a really slick industrial kind of look. And really, once you see them, you'll understand why they're higher end Sony products. So, Chris, congratulations on the design of this. What message do you have for dealers who are considering, maybe getting out of that old school mentality of the 2 and 4 channel and start exploring on these new multi-channel 6 and 8 channel amplifiers?
So this is a great opportunity to kind of explore maybe a 6 and 8 channel amp setup in some vehicles that you're building for a customer. Where maybe you haven't, experienced that type of thing before. If you're a Sony Mobile ES retailer, of course, then you have access to them already. If you're not, you should certainly contact your local distributor about getting access to the Mobile ES lineup. But this is a great opportunity for you to kind of explore these things and try to figure out how they best suit your needs, right? You talked about the aesthetics, for instance, and that panel that hold or kind of hides all of the controls and adjustments behind it. Here's the even cooler part. We thought very intensely about all the technician side of this and applying it to a vehicle and all that stuff. And we too also want to protect the settings that the technician has set up in that vehicle. So even the screws that go into the trim panel and into the chassis are metal to metal. So you can actually use some blue Loctite or red Loctite, whatever you want, on those screws to keep them in place and kind of, you know, prevent a customer from poking around a little bit or doing whatever. They'll have to put enough effort into it where they're kind of reconsidering what they're doing. Possibly still won't probably prevent them completely, but the guys that are just kind of exploring and might want to, fiddle with some switches here and there are probably going to be fended off by that, right? So little things like that on our lineup. And just the little engineering details and the things that we went through to really make sure that this was a great sounding, great looking, and great technical amp for you guys to install, you're going to be happy with it for sure. No problem.
Hi, Jody from 5 Access here. Just want to bring everybody up to speed with what we do and how we do it. We're a display company. We do a lot of custom graphics. Obviously, we do custom audio boards. We do RGB lighting. We do graphical work up top. We also do all the different custom amp mounts. So for all your store needs, we do front counters, we do home audio sections, we do lighting, everything that you're looking for, give us a call. Again, it's 5 Access, 414-326-7162.
You know, when it comes to car audio, there are those legacy brands, especially at the higher end of the spectrum for that audiophile grade sound. Brands like MOREL, who we're talking to today. But what you may not know, other than the fabulous speakers that they manufacture, is that they also do other items that may be of interest. One of them might be amplifiers that you might want to discover. But today, we're going to talk about another category that MOREL provides in sound dampening materials. We've got Corey Stockland in the studio with us. Now, Corey, sound dampening and MOREL. I mean, I, for one, did not know that. It's something I want to learn about. Is this a category that MOREL is new to, and what is the overall offering?
Yeah, thank you, Ben. We've been doing sound treatment for a couple of years now. It's not a huge focus of ours by any means. I mean, obviously, we are focused on premium speakers, but the big thing that we're trying to get done is we need to make sure that from start to finish, all the way through the system development, that we are representing those MOREL speakers as best as possible. So to be able to give dealers a premium product for the sound treatment of the doors and the vehicle overall, that's kind of the goal that we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure that we're giving the best presence that we possibly can to that signature MOREL sound. And some of our dealers just don't have the access to the better or more premium products out there. So we wanted to facilitate that need.
All right, Corey. So on that note, I would imagine when MOREL does something, and we know MOREL, they're not just going to sort of do it. They're going to go all the way through. So the product is called AccuDamp. I want you to break down for me the different materials that dealers have access to and why there are 3 different materials to begin with.
Yeah, so we have 3 different materials that basically covers any of the needs that you need to treat the vehicle properly. We have the MAT 221.10, which is a 2.1 millimeter traditional butyl aluminum backed treatment material that basically can be applied to any part of the car. It's the thinner material that you're kind of used to with some of the other brands that are out there. We cut them in sheets of 18 by 32 inches or 460 by 800 millimeters, which makes it so that it's a larger sheet, easier to cut, easier to manipulate, put on the vehicle, everything along those lines. Everything that you're used to with some of the other brands that you've probably run into. Now, where we start differentiating ourselves is we also have the 227.8, which is a 2.7 millimeter material. So it's the thicker, heavier material that only a few vendors are actually have out there right now. And what that does is it creates a better resistance to vibration. It damps it a lot more because of the heaviness of the material. But because of overall that heaviness, we can actually reduce the noise inside the vehicle by a substantial amount. And not many companies are actually providing that thickness material. So we wanted to be able to give you, 2 different layers to be able to give you the best absorption possible. On top of that, we have the MAT 345.5, which is basically a 4.5 millimeter thick material that is the butyl with the aluminum and then the foam backing. And that works really, really well for like door panels and for trunk panels and everything along those lines, because that closed cell foam allows a little bit of pressure to be able to put on the panel and reduce both sheet metal and panel resonance vibration potential, because it's squishing everything together and you're just getting an overall better reduction in road noise, vibrations, and it also does a thermal characteristic as well to be able to keep some of the heat rejection out of your vehicle. All these things are going to make it so that your speakers become alive, a lot more bass response while driving or while stopped.
All right, Corey, so I hear you. There are 3 different offerings when it comes to the dampening material. But I got to say, the numbers are a little weird. Is there any explanation or rhyme or reason behind this numbering system?
Yeah, so the product, the model numbers are actually very important, and it makes it so it's very easy to reference what you need to be able to cover the vehicle and what material you're going to be using. So like with the MAT 221.10, that is a 2-layer treatment material at 2.1 millimeters of thickness, and the .10 means how many sheets are in the box. So it means 2 layers at 2.1 millimeters by 10 sheets. So MAT 221.10. Likewise, for the MAT 227.8, it is 2 layers of the sound treatment, so the aluminum and the butyl, and then it has 2.7 millimeters of thickness by 8 sheets. And then likewise, again, with the 345.5, it is 3 layers, so the closed-cell foam, butyl, and aluminum by 4.5 millimeters of thickness by 5 sheets in the box.
Well, it's obvious, Corey, that whoever thought of that is much smarter than me, but it makes total sense when you take the time to explain it, and very easy for dealers to comprehend and order. Okay, we talked about the 3 different versions of material, but the fun doesn't end there. We also have an offering when it comes to speaker rings.
So the speaker rings are they're closed-cell foam, and they basically make it so that you can surround any of the speakers. Gives you that waveguide form up front. And the primary function of these is to be able to put some pressure on the plastic panels where the speakers mount, so that the vibrations are reduced, and it makes it so that you get the most out of the speaker coming off of the front half without any detrimental distortion or anything along those lines. Our box comes with 6 strips. They are 1 inch by 27 inches long, and the reason for that is we feel that we want to promote as much as we possibly can to sell a front set of 3-ways. So we're hoping that you use, one of the sheets to be able to go around the mid woofer, or the mid or the woofer, then the mid driver up in the top, and then one for the back doors as well. So you have a full system 3-ways covered. On top of that, if you only went with a 2-way front set of speakers and then a coax in the rear or something along those lines, you have another 2 strips left over after that box to use on another install. The one thing that a lot of people aren't necessarily talking about with these strips is they're extremely flexible to be able to be used in anything. It's not just for around the speaker. It's anywhere that a panel might vibrate, or you might need to be able to push a little flex onto a panel to make it fit better, or to stop a vibration or anything along those lines. These things are incredibly flexible and useful in installs to try to deaden any of that sound, or even just give it a little bit of squish to make it so that the panel fits better or nicer or something along those lines. Also included in our box, we also do the backwave pads, which are 4.5 by 6.5 inches to be able to put it behind the speaker so that we can cancel some of that backwave. There are 6 of those in the box to be able to match all the speakers in the install. So use them as you see fit.
All right, Corey, thanks for coming in today and sharing with us all these great products in the MOREL lineup when it comes to, really controlling the environment to optimize your sound. And I can't help but think that this is something that obviously MOREL is committed to. What is the long range for this category when it comes to these type of products from MOREL?
Yeah, this is definitely a very big category for us. It's not really a main focus of ours, but we definitely want to represent the speakers as best as possible. So from much of the feedback from our dealers, we do have some products on the horizon that we're looking to make even more solutions and be able to treat those cars even easier and give your shop a lot better solutions in the future. So be sure to check our website, the morelhifi.com, for any future updates, or reach out to your local distributor to see if we have anything coming down the pipeline.
Hey guys, Ricky Lima here from SiriusXM. I had a chance to speak to some dealers and ask them what they love about selling SiriusXM. Here's what they had to say.
Coast-to-coast coverage.
I love SiriusXM for commercial-free music.
It's a great add-on sale and a profit opportunity.
We love selling SiriusXM because you can listen to the same channel coast to coast.
Profitability and ease of installation. It's a no-brainer.
We love selling SiriusXM for its ease of installation, great profitability, and reliability.
People love it.
Our car audio industry is always in a constant state of evolution. But if you've been following along, then you know AUDIOCONTROL has been hard at work coming up with brand new products. Earlier this year, they launched a brand new series of speakers for the first time. And within that range of speakers, of course, there were subwoofers. Today, we're going to take it one step further because, once again, AUDIOCONTROL is reinventing themselves and providing even more products for their dealers, this time in the form of enclosures. We go down to Matt Palumbo from Audio Control. Now, Matt, this is obviously an exciting time for Audio Control. Today, we're going to focus on this new selection of enclosures that I know you're a part of. Why don't you break it down for us? Why was this an important category for Audio Control to get into?
Thanks, Ben. Yeah, we're super excited about these new enclosures, and they're important to us and important to a lot of dealers because what we've seen in the industry is that a lot of dealers are kind of slowly moving away from custom building enclosures every day. I think that's been happening for a long time, and they're moving towards either vehicle-specific or preloaded, prefabricated enclosures. The problem that we see is that a lot of times dealers have our speakers and woofers in stock, and then they're grabbing a universal empty enclosure off the shelf and mating them together. Sometimes that's okay, but is it getting the best performance out of our product? Probably not. So our solution to that is to build our own enclosures and build them to our very high standards.
The one thing I will add to that statement there, Matt, is, in the past, when we think of a prefab enclosure, the options weren't really that enticing. When we think of prefab enclosure, we think of that normal, very basic kind of shape that kind of fits nowhere. And also, that standard kind of gray carpeting. But from what I can see on your table, that's not what we're talking about at all. All right, so let me break this down for you guys. Audio Control came out with two different series of subwoofers. One is called the Spike series, which, as Matt refers to, is kind of like a daily driver. And then the other one is a Space series. As you can imagine, it's to help with space constraints, so a much shallower driver. So let's get into the Spike series of preloaded enclosures.
Yeah, Ben. So, with the Spike series subwoofers, as you alluded to, I call those kind of the daily driver. And I call them that because that's exactly what they are. They're a great all-around subwoofer. They can be in a kind of SQ focused system, small sealed enclosure, moderate power. They can be in a big, loud, higher SPL system, big vented box, lots of power, that sort of thing. And so we tried to kind of achieve that with the enclosures as well. So just like the Spike series woofer is offered in an 8-inch, 10-inch, and 12-inch variation, we did the same with the enclosures. So right here in front of me today, I have the 8-inch version, which is the SPK V8 is the part number, V for vented, because these are vented enclosures. So with these enclosures, what we tried to do is really put together the best prefabricated, preloaded enclosure we could think of to build and still offer, the Audio Control performance that customers and enthusiasts have come to expect, but also offer value, right? We don't want to build an enclosure that's so crazy expensive that people can't afford it. So that's what we've come up with these enclosures. My favorite thing about these right off the bat is the performance of them. They sound awesome. They have lots of output. They fit in a lot of applications, and they're not terribly big. Even the 12-inch version is not huge for a single 12 vented box. In fact, what I've noticed when I'm traveling around to dealers and visiting stores is compared to the prefabricated empty enclosures that a lot of stores offer and sell, our loaded enclosures are actually even a little bit smaller than what they're already used to. So that's a nice surprise for a lot of dealers. When we look at these enclosures, the first thing most people notice is the materials. And we put a lot of time and effort into the materials like we always do. These have a Stinger roadkill material sprayed on the top, back, and bottom of them. And although that kind of looks like a bed liner material to most people, and it is similar to that, it's definitely better than your typical bed liner sprayed box. It holds up better, it has sound dampening properties to it, and it doesn't scrape off or chip or flake like most of those bed liner sprayed boxes do. It's also just got a nicer finish to it. It's a little bit less coarse of a texture, which comes, all together to make just a nicer, more aesthetically pleasing enclosure. The sides and front are coated wrapped, I should say, in a marine grade vinyl that also has some texture to it, which is cool. Again, just gives it a nice look, and it's just way better than having that typical fuzzy carpeted box, right? We've all seen those enclosures years later when they get a little bit damp and, they've got fuzzies on them and dog hair and all that stuff. And they just don't hold up very well. This definitely is going to hold up a whole lot better. So when it comes to the actual design and construction of it, we'll talk about the insides of it here in a minute, but just on the outside, you'll notice the vent on these is right down the back side here, back corner, with all of your connections on that same side. So we wanted to kind of do everything on that one side and keep the other side fairly clean. And one of the things I think is coolest as far as aesthetics is the curved nature of these enclosures. This is one continuous piece of MDF that wraps the top, back, and bottom that's been kerfed in order to get that bend in it. And then we've even rounded these front corners as well. So everything is very rounded and smooth, gives a really nice look. The woofer is countersunk into the front of these because this front baffle is double thick MDF. So it's really strong. It also allows us to countersink that. When we look at, the overall kind of feel and vibe of this box too, there's a lot of things that are done that appear to maybe be just kind of for cosmetics, but actually do serve a purpose. Things like offsetting the woofer to one side, things like having the port come out of this specific rear corner of the box, and then as well as these side panels. Now, this is a early generation box. The finished version of these, this bottom portion does look a little bit different, and you'll see that on the Space Series when we get there, but the overall is the same. So we have our normal push style terminal cup. Now this will accept wire from several different connection types, whether you are using your typical just bare speaker wire. We can use something like that and use it with those push terminals, of course. All right, so push these down, put in your bare wire, no problem. If we have the separated banana clips like this, these will also fit in there without issue. Or if you have your joined together banana clip, this also will fit in this terminal. If I can push it down with one hand, like so, okay? But one of the things that most people notice once they start looking at these a little bit is what's this other connection down here? And I'll show it on the other box as well. But this is an XT90 connector, which is a quick disconnect. What this allows us to do is have a box that our customers can, if they need to, pull out of their vehicle for the weekend or something like that. And unlike if you have traditional speaker wire laying around in your trunk, these can accidentally touch together, short out an amplifier, causing issues. Instead, what your customer can have is this nice little pigtail that we include with the box. When you take a look at this, you'll see it is a unique shape that can't be plugged in the wrong way. So they can never accidentally have wires touch together. They can never have it plugged in the wrong way, having it reverse polarity or something like that. So these come with them, and it is actually a fairly common connector. So if your customer loses this or it gets left in a vehicle, something like that, XT90 is a fairly standard connector they can get at a electronic supply store or online. But every enclosure comes with one pigtail. The other thing that's cool on the outside of these boxes before we dig into the inside is on those side panels, there is a couple of little mounting points for our brackets, which we include with it. These are nice powder-coated metal brackets. And our whole thought process here is, okay, so you've sold your customer this great looking enclosure. Now we're going to go and install it. The last thing we want is to have the installer running coarse thread wood screws right into their brand new box that the customer bought in order to mount it, right? So we instead include these nice brackets with every enclosure. And we also include some really nice stainless hardware. They're a hex thread stainless hardware to go into the side of the box. And we include a self-tapping hex head screw to mount to the vehicle itself through the floor or whatever that's going to be mounted to. So we tried to really think of everything and cover all the bases, just like we always do, right? So it's all about the details for audio control. And I think with that, we should take a look at kind of some of the inside features of these boxes.
And Matt, that is one of the things I always love about audio control is all the details, that the thought process, that everything that has to do with the design cues when it comes to any product that audio control comes with. So now let's take a look at the inside, because I get the feeling this is not just a hollow, empty shell, is it?
Yeah, definitely not, Ben. It is not your typical just empty box. So let's take a look at the inside of the Spike Series vented enclosure. When we pull the woofer out, I've already, of course, little TV magic, taken all the screws out of it. So we pull out our woofer. One of the first things that I want everybody to notice is that this is the same Spike Series woofer that you would get if you're just buying it off the shelf. So many preloaded enclosures have a woofer in them that is, from the outside, looks like the same woofer they'd buy if they bought it standalone, but it's usually not. A lot of times the back is not painted, there's no rubber boot, there's no labels on it, and sometimes it's truthfully not the same woofer at all. It's just cosmetically the same woofer, but performance-wise, it's been a scaled back version. These are the exact same woofer that if you just bought a SPK 8 woofer, right, and got it off the shelf, it's the same sub. So we love that from a warranty standpoint. And just from a sales standpoint, when talking to customers, it's nice to know that we didn't, cheat them or scale back in any way. They're getting the exact same high performance sub. So when we take a look at the inside of this enclosure, this is one of my favorite parts, is the bracketing and bracing that's been done in this. We all know bracing inside of an enclosure makes for a stronger, better box, but we didn't just brace the inside of these enclosures. We also made sure that that brace actually kind of hugs the magnet when you slide the woofer in. So it's taking all of the stress off of that front baffle on the enclosure. Not only that, but this front baffle, as I mentioned earlier, is double wall thick, as you can see. And one of the things I think is really neat is we use the same hardware that we include when you buy the woofer standalone. And that is that we use these nice little nutserts on every one of the screw holes. So there's actually a machine threaded screw that is mounting the sub. So like I just did taking this woofer out, taking it out and putting it in is no big deal. We're not stripping out the holes by using some sort of coarse thread wood screw or something like that. Now, when you buy a Spike Series woofer, it does come with both, so you can choose how you want to mount it. But in our enclosures, we use those nutserts and those machine thread screws every time. One of the other things that you may notice is inside there, it is already been polyfilled for you. And you can see we even use a nice thicker gauge speaker wire in there. We even have gone so far as to use blue and black, so it's audio control colors. Imagine that. So again, it's all about those details. We're really proud of what we've done with these enclosures, and really all of it adds up to just making a box that sounds as good as it looks.
Thank you, Matt, for taking the time to take the woofer out to show the insides of this enclosure, which I'll be honest, not every manufacturer is ready to do on camera. All right, before I let you go, we talked about the Spike enclosures. Obviously, there's also the Space enclosures, which are for that more tighter fit where you don't have the space. I just wanted you to quickly touch on some of the key details about this.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. We're super excited about these enclosures, and the Spike Series boxes are awesome. But I also want to show the Space Series enclosures. So much like we offer the Space Series woofers by themselves as a Space 10 or Space 12, we also have the SPC W10 and SPC W12, the W's for wedge. The first thing you'll notice about the Space Series enclosures, just like the Spike Series, is their construction. They have that cool rounded one-piece top, back, and bottom. It is that MDF construction. The vinyl on the front and sides is that marine grade textured vinyl, really nice looking, holds up really well, roadkill coated on the outside. A lot of shared features from Spike to Space. But one of the things I did want to show, since this is a final production version of the enclosure, is again, you have that nice terminal cup here. It's even got our little audio control logos on there because we love details. But this really is a good way to show that XT90 connector and how that plugs in. So again, instead of using this big one here, we can use the pigtail that came with it, and this little guy just plugs in like so. The other thing that I can show is on this same panel is where that little bracket is going to go. So if we have our bracket here, again, this lines up with these two little threaded holes on the outsides, and we would use that nice stainless hardware that is included with these. And with this on there, let me put this on. These little guys will attach like so. And then again, you're using that nice stainless hardware that we include with a self-tapping tip there and going into whatever your surface is. One of the really cool things about these, though, is because they're so slim and small, this can either lay down like this and go under the back seat of a truck or whatever vehicle, or they can stand up. And we've really tried to think of everything because those brackets that I was just showing will work with the box laid down or standing up, either way. Power handling is something we didn't talk about yet. The power handling is the same as the woofers by themselves. All the enclosures are a single 2-ohm impedance. You have 600 watts power handling on the 10 or 12 space. And on the Spike Series, you're 500 RMS on the 8, 700 RMS on the 10 and 12. For more information about the Space Series or Spike Series enclosures or any other audio control product, make sure to check out all of these awesome pieces at www.audiocontrol.com. And thank you, CMA and Ben, for having me on. I appreciate it. See you again next time.
CE Outlook is dedicated to keeping the car audio and electronics industry informed on the latest issues, trends, and product releases. New feature stories posted daily. Visit ceoutlook.com for the latest industry news. amazing to see certain brands start in one category and evolve over time to dominate other categories. Well, same is the case for Wet Sounds, who of course started in the marine world, but has gone on to provide so much more, especially with the release of their new Zero speakers. Not only did they release this brand new set a couple months back, they've already expanded on it. We go now to Grant McFadder from Trends, the Canadian distributor for Wet Sounds. Now, Grant, this is a line that obviously is gaining some traction. They're expanding on it. What do you have to tell us about the new Zero range from Wet Sounds?
Yeah, Ben, the Zero speakers and subwoofers have been out for probably close to a year, but they saw some needs to expand. They saw some crossover applications for this. So not only are they using this in the marine application, which was originally designed for, there's obviously some crossover stuff happening as well with, you'll see in a little bit that Wet Sounds is getting into the motorcycle category and also into vehicles. So not just marine audio anymore. They are, doing some mixing and matching and dabbling in another market, which was typically 12-volt guys, car audio guys. So Ben, you'll see on the slides I provided to you there that there's some new stuff on the way. So first off, I'm going to cover off the existing product, which is the 06, the 08, both available in black and white, using their twist lock technology on the grill. So it's not fixed on like previous products. So you can remove that grill, easily install it with a twist and a lock application. So that's it installed. Comes with a flat black and a gloss hybrid there. If you look at the overhead shot, might see it better. So a really cool looking grill. I call it the niche wheel grill. Back in my early mid 80s wheel situation. So I call it the niche wheel grill, but really nice looking grills with the flat and the mix of the gloss on there. So 6-inch and an 8-inch were the first coaxials to come out. You'll see on the next slide, brand new product coming out probably by the end of March. These are the subwoofers, sorry. So this is the 10-inch and 12-inch subwoofers. They've been in the line for a while as well. Those are carried over. Killer subwoofers. Do not think of this as a shallow subwoofer. Super high power handling. You're 300 watts RMS on the 10, 400 watts RMS on the 12, 0.5 cubic foot for the 10 sealed, and 0.75 sealed for the 12. So tiny enclosures. And you're going to see a lot of guys, crossovering these into car audio applications, side-by-sides, power sports, you name it. But the brand new products is on the next slide. And these are the ones that we're expecting probably by the end of March. So it's not far away. So a 5x7 horn-loaded compression driver coaxial, and then two versions of the 6x9, both in white and black, easy for me to say. Those are, again, big power handling, 100 watts RMS, 200 watts peak. But you'll see what's going to happen with this product. This was designed for a reason. Not only will it fit in cars, but this is the category that they're going to go after next. And I think if you saw this at SEMA, you'll understand they're going after it in a big way. So if you look at the next slide, it'll tell you what category it's going after.
Grant, you were kind of stealing my thunder there, because the moment you put up that slide and I seen those sizes in the 5x7, the 6x9s, and the horn-loaded tweeters, I got to guess this looks like it's going the direction of motorcycle audio.
Yeah, so those guys that were at SEMA this year saw in a big way the two motorcycles they had in their booth, showing off that they're not just dipping into the category, they're diving right in. So on the first picture there, you have a Street Glide with the dedicated Street Glide grills with the 6.5-inch speakers that'll drop right into those factory locations. They've got lowers in the lower part of that picture as well. In the lower fairing, you can do a 6.5-inch down there, or some guys will do the 8s. And then in the tour pack, you've got a 6.5-inch as well. Again, that'll drop right into those factory locations in the back. Next picture you'll see on the right-hand side is their bag lid application for the 6x9. They'll have cut-in kits, 6x9 application with the compression horn 6x9 drivers, 10-inch subwoofer with the mounting ring, and then it's hard to see in this picture, but at the very back on the right below the guy's foot, you'll see a little tiny amplifier. That's their new series of amplifiers, and those are the one on the left or on the green motorcycle was crazy. That thing had 4 10-inch subwoofers in it, and about, I think it was 5 or 6 of the brand new OEM style, Harley Davidson style amplifiers. So they're not just dipping in the category, they're diving in big time. So 6.5, 5x7, 6x9s dedicated for motorcycle. They have a whole line of amplifiers coming out, I believe 3 models to start off with. Subwoofers, the Zero obviously will work in those applications with the rings. So motorcycle is going to be a big category for them.
All right, so there's the news. 0 speakers now applicable to the motorcycle environment. But that's not all they unveiled. There's some pretty exciting enclosures when it comes to the subwoofer side of things on its way. And they're pretty unique looking and very wet sound-ish, if you will.
So to go along with their 0 subwoofers, they've introduced 2 brand new subwoofer enclosures. Those were shown at SEMA as well. So in true Wet Sounds fashion, not copying anyone else's design. These are full rotational molded enclosures. Really cool design aspects to it. They'll have a 10-inch version of it and a 12-inch version. They'll be sold as singles, but you can also pair them together. So if you look at this slide here, you'll see these little Z brackets. That'll allow you to mount it standing up, lying down, or down firing. And then there's a little bracket in the middle that allows you to link 2 of them together. So one sub's not enough. You can link 2 of them together, and just out of pure fluke, these will fit underneath the seat of your Ford F-150 or your Chevy pickups. So you can do a single 10 down fire or up fire depending on the application in a 10-inch and 12-inch subwoofer, specifically designed for the 0 subwoofers. It's kind of hard to see in that picture, but on the left-hand side, you'll see a little nub with a screw hole on it. That's actually a mounting point for the subwoofer to give you some extra bracing on it. On the back of the 0 subwoofer is a threaded insert on the back here, and that actually screws to that insert on the enclosure. So it's keeping all that force of that driver locked into the enclosure. So pretty cool design, both for the 010 and 012.
Now, keeping along with the theme of Wet Sounds getting into other categories, the next product is a pretty intense and hardcore product for UTV. And I'll let Grant kind of explain.
So brand new products as well are the brand new AR5 roof systems for both the Polaris Ranger and the Can-Am Defender Max. So this comes shipped complete. Basically, you got a power and ground hookup. I'll break it down quickly what you get in each system. So you get 4 8-inch coaxial speakers with built-in RGB lighting. You get a 12-inch subwoofer with RGB lighting. You get an MC2 head unit, which is a full AM/FM weather band head unit with auxiliary input as well, Bluetooth obviously, and gives you full control of the system. You also get RGB controller switch built into there, so you can change the lighting. If you look at the top of that picture there, you'll see a 50-inch LED light bar that's also included. And on the back, which I don't have a picture of it, there's also a rear-mounted LED light bar for that as well. Rounding it off, just because these vehicles don't come with dome lights, of course, Wet Sounds included the dome light as well. So that is a complete plug-and-play drop-in solution for the Polaris Ranger and the Can-Am Defender Max. So both systems ready to go. If you look on the bottom there, you'll see 2 blank plates or 2 black plates. One is the 5-channel amplifier, or sorry, the 600-watt amplifier that's in there for the 4 8-inch speakers in the subwoofer. The second one is a blank panel where you can drop in the AR Amp 2CH, which is a 2-channel amplifier. Then you can add on some roll cage speakers. So a pair of Icon 8s, a pair of Rev 12 HDs if you want. Whatever you want to add on there. There's another amplifier. It gives you plenty of power for adding more speakers to it. So again, I want a complete plug-and-play solution for the Defender Max and the Polaris Ranger. Last but not least is the brand new system that, again, was shown at SEMA, was shown at the MasterTech Expo last year, are the brand new full solution systems for the Jeep JLs. So full, complete system, plug and play with DSP. 2 amplifiers are included. You see that enclosure at the bottom, that lifts up to get it the storage compartment below. So it's 2 12-inch down-firing subwoofers, tons and tons of output. The dash speakers up top is in this factory location is a tweeter with the horn-loaded compression driver on it. And then we give you a 6-inch mid-bass for the lower application. Then the other picture is the 6x9 horn-loaded compression driver as well for the roll cage. That's a picture of the back of it with the hinge kit. Again, everything is bolted in a factory location. They're not drilling extra holes. They're not cutting any extra wires. It's all plug and play. Everything comes in the box. This will be available as 2 kits. One will be without the tower speakers because not everyone's going to want rear-facing tower speakers in their Jeep. But the 2 amplifiers, the subwoofer enclosure with the subwoofers in it, the dash speakers, the lower dash speakers, 6x9s in the roll cage, all come in a kit with DSP. They even give you the fuse holder, everything to mount at the battery. So everything is included. And then the second option will be the tower speaker add-on. Again, those towers bolt on at factory locations, no cutting, no drilling into extra holes of the vehicle. So they're dabbling into other categories, as you can see. Jeep is obviously one of the most accessorized vehicles in North America. So we'll see what's next for them.
Mark your calendar. CMA Expo is returning in 2024 to the Toronto Congress Centre on April 5th, 6th, and 7th. A huge thank you to all the Canadian dealers who attended and made the inaugural event such an amazing success. You spoke and we listened. Thanks to your feedback, we've implemented some important changes to enhance your experience even further. Confirmed exhibitors for the 2024 CMA Expo are Alpine, Automobility, Importel, Trends Electronics, Gemsen Distribution, JVC Kenwood, Sony, Pioneer, Dix Performance, SiriusXM, Ericsson Consumer, Metra, Stinger, Fortin. Save money and take advantage of the early bird registration. But hurry, early bird ends Monday, January 29th. For more information and the latest updates, follow us on social or visit cmaexpo.ca. We move now to another very niche product, but obviously one that is very important and a great revenue source for many 12-volt retailers out there. We're talking about seat heaters. And when it comes to seat heaters, ACCELE Electronics absolutely dominates this category with an incredible selection of seat heaters that you need to know about. We connect now with their Vice President, Mr. Christian Way. Now, Christian, this is a category that ACCELE takes very seriously. So why don't you tell us a little bit about ACCELE and the category that is seat heaters?
Good morning, Ben. You're absolutely right. It's become a really important category to us. So this year, like every year, we just kind of expound on it, and we add new SKUs, new technology. So today, I just want to take a couple minutes and share some of the newer technologies and go back over some of the older ones that have been very effective in the marketplace.
Well, when it comes to seat heaters, ACCELE certainly has a wide variety of different options with different technologies, to your point, Chris. So let's start at the base and work our way up, and I'll get you to explain kind of the features and benefits of each model as we go through.
You're right, Ben. The best way to look at our selection on seat heaters is to go right to our website, accele.com, ACCELE.com. Go to products. You can drop down to by product category and then go over to comfort, and the first category in line would be seat heaters. When you drop into that, you land right on this page, and it shows you our whole selection, which is everything from carbon fiber seat heaters to massage kits. What we'll do is we'll start out with the JWC200N. That was one of our first models introduced into the market, and it's been on the market for a long time. Very dependable piece. Obviously carbon fiber. It is trimmable, meaning you can cut circles in it. What you don't want to do is cut up at the top of the main power supply, but it works like a fence. So, everything's netted. So there's always a continuity line as long as you don't trim off the main power source. That comes with a high-low switch, and there's there's actually a new plug that we added, which we'll get to later when we get onto some of our newer models. So remind me about that. The next generation of the carbon fiber, we moved into our JWC 400, which is a little different. You're moving from a high-low switch to a high, medium, low, on-off switch, obviously, right? But there's one other really, really cool trick to this piece. We designed it so you could actually hook it directly to the power source. You didn't have to go to accessory. You can go right to the battery, meaning leaving it on. So in order to do that in a safe manner, we had to add a timer. So there's a 15-minute timer built into the circuitry. So you power it on, it automatically goes off after 15 minutes. We did that because what we wanted to do is be able to tie it into, like, say, an alarm or a remote start installation, right? So in order to do that, we want to be able to move through the channels. We want to be able to have somebody remotely trigger it and turn it on with with like, say, a third channel on alarm.
With the JWC 400, you have a 3-position switch. So you have obviously high, medium, low, and then you have off. But you also have the blue wire, which will trigger all the way through each individual steps of the switch. So if you hit it once, you're on high. You hit it again, you're on medium. You trigger it one more time, you go to low, and then finally to an off position again.
Cool part about that is there's a lot of cases where cars are, even if they have a car starter, they might be garage, so you can't necessarily you don't want to be remote starting your car in the garage with it closed. But what you can do is take the third channel in your alarm and hit it once and get the seats all heated for you. Little 15-minute timer if you forget about it, or if you have a change of plans, you don't have to worry about running out there and turning it off. It'll automatically go off in 15 minutes.
All right, Chris, thanks for the demo and that really cool feature on that previous model. Now, as we move ahead, like with anything else, technology is going to affect all categories, and even the OEM manufacturers, when it comes to seat heaters, are starting to be more involved with the filament style seat heater. But don't worry, because ACCELE's got you covered for this new type of technology as well.
Yeah, you're right, Ben. And it's funny because we initially started out with a filament style seat heater, and if you don't want to by a filament, it's a single wire conductor that goes all the way through, which means you can't trim it, you can't cut it. It's not like carbon fiber where you have a network of continuity. But the benefits of that is the durability of filament style is generally much greater. I think they always recognize that, and they also perform so much faster. They heat up quicker. Again, they're more durable, and they actually get to a little higher temperature in some cases. So. I think the consumers were requesting that. This is one piece that we started with, which is our SH220 CFR. It's a smaller pad. We really wanted to accommodate we still want to be able to cut it and trim it, but we also want to make it a more manageable pad to go up under the seat cover. So if you see with this one, you can see actually the filament style. So you can't cut through here, but on the 220, you can actually cut right down the center. Okay, so you can split this if you have any occupancy sensors or something that you need to get around. Very cool piece. The next piece we go to is our SH200WN, which is up above. So again, it's a very, very similar size to what we offer in the carbon fiber, except it's not trimmable. But again, more durable. It's going to heat up more quickly. It's exactly what the OEs went to, and it's a dynamite piece. Now, in some cases, we recognize that that the base is a little smaller and people don't want to deal with that, and that's normally where they're gonna trim. Not really gonna trim up on the back, but they're gonna trim mostly on the bottom piece. So we started doing some split pad and combo packs, like the SH420 is a great piece. If you narrow in on that, it has the small pad for the base for the seat, which you can deal with the occupancy sensor or just keep it together, but it's a nice warm little pad. And then of course the elongated pad for the back. Now, what we did is we took that this year, we went to the 520, and what the 520 does is offers a control module. Now, this module is excellent because a lot of people don't want the pad on the bottom. Once they get in, the seat's warm, they want to turn that off, but they still want that back to be heated up, right? In my case, gentleman with a bad back can't drive for more than an hour without a seat heater on my back just to keep it loose. But this piece offers a little module, control module that you plug in. The little adapter plug is already there off the harness for you, and then what you have to do is just go through a series of switches. You're gonna grab the on-off switch. You're gonna toggle it off and on 3 times, and it automatically will give you a piezo indicator, and it'll separate the bottom pad from the top, meaning it'll shut off the bottom pad, and all you're left with is the back pad to keep you nice and warm. And then to engage again, turn it off, turn it back on, they both go on. A really simple procedure, a really simple module, but very, very effective. And what we highly recommend is you actually keep the 420s on hand, a couple modules on the side, and then you use that as an upsell feature. When your customers come in, they want a basic kit, you do that and say, hey, you know what? We can kind of separate the bottom pad from the top. You can have a little isolation control. It's a nice little upsell feature.
To demonstrate how the module works, what we're going to do is take our 2 pads out. We're going to turn them on. In this situation, both pads are heating, the bottom pad and the lumbar pad. Now what we do is we're going to toggle this off 3 times. 1, 2, 3. You get a piezo indicator telling you that now the seat or the bottom of the seat cushion heater is off and only the back pad is isolated.
Well, there you have it, guys. I promise you at the top of the segment, ACCELE is your go-to source when it comes to all things seat heating related. They have the models, they have the knowledge, and certainly have the technology and options that will satisfy any one of your customers. Now, on that closing note, Chris, what message do you have for dealers when it comes to this category? Where do they get more info? And what is availability on this stuff?
All available, man. All in stock. We have a great distributor network in the U.S. We, of course, have Importel, great partner up in Canada. So if you haven't tried our seat heaters, give it a shot. Jump on the website, see what we have. We also have a lot of other, niche parts like Toyota and Nissan specific kits for switches that go right in the pop outs. So we have all your needs. Great quality, and we've been doing this for a long time, Ben. And we produce a quality product at the right price. So come check it out.
All right, that's a wrap for this CMA Live All Access, brought to you by SiriusXM and sponsored by 5-Axis Innovations. Make sure to check out all our videos at cmanetworks.com. We'll see you next Saturday.
There's never been a better time to have SiriusXM with over 150 channels in your vehicle. Your Platinum Plan offer includes more than ever before to enjoy online, on your phone, or at home. Create your own ad-free personalized stations powered by Pandora. Hear ad-free extra channels and enjoy favorite shows with SiriusXM Video on Demand. What you love is on now.